you have the chance to attend the simulation, do it.
For myself, for the coworkers who attended it, it was life-changing.
I really haven't stopped thinking about the experience, and I've talked to anybody that would listen to me talk about it. It was that impactful for me on a personal level.
So what is the Cost of Poverty experience? It's a 2-hour training that allows participants to walk the mile in the shoes of under-resourced families, actual families that have lived here in the greater Dayton area for many years. These are families that we've been able to get to know over the last 7 years through several of the projects that Think Tanks runs. So if you don't have a first-hand account of what poverty is, or you don't have low-income, under-resourced families in your social network, this may be a good way to really understand or have a better understanding of what poverty is doing right here in the Dayton community.
I came with 2 other members from the Red Cross staff here, and my understanding was there would be a simulation of what it would feel like to be in poverty, and that's absolutely what we experienced. So what I was expecting was to understand, one, I was interested to see how a simulation would work, because we've tried to do some events like that for some of our sponsors at the Red Cross, and so I was looking for some lessons learned to see how to reach the heartstrings of people that you're trying to reach.
I'm not sure if I had any expectations walking into that, and really was just kind of open to new ideas around what that was even about, and I was grateful for.
Training. I have been teaching social justice for approximately about 15 years, and we've done domestic poverty a number of times, and it's really hard for the students to grasp what domestic poverty is, and I've experienced it, and so I was very excited about the training because I wanted to, without having to go into a neighborhood and talking to the people, I wanted to have a simulation experience that I thought we could bring back to our students, to be honest. I was thinking ahead and saying, if this is really great, how can we bring this training back, share it with our students? I feel very knowledgeable about kind of what the situation of poverty is, in having experienced it both, walking with people doing it and also reading about it, learning about it, and I wanted my students to be able to get that. So I was looking at it from a how do we bring this to our school perspective.
And so we were kind of thrown into this experience of you are now a family, and these are the goals and the objectives that we want you to try to accomplish over the next 4 weeks, which correlated into 12-minute segments. So, my first experience is that I didn't have any time to take care of my daughter. So she went to school like she was supposed to, but I didn't pick her up. I was found guilty of child neglect. My wife and I made decisions around who was going to get the car, who wasn't going to get the car, what responsibilities had to be done during the day, and my first blush was, this won't be that difficult. I can figure things out. I'm quick, and it was really frustrating because of the things that we were asked to accomplish, and I think there were 10. I think we accomplished maybe 4 at best.
I think the most surprising thing for me in the simulation was how quickly my own behaviors and my own thought processes changed. I saw how when you're desperate, you would do things that you might not be able to explain otherwise. I saw myself fighting for things and stretching the truth and being something that was distant from my own moral compass in order to navigate my way through the realities of the poverty system. So I think the one thing I would tell people is that you might be surprised what you learn, and you might be surprised what you learn about yourself and how you may act and react if you were put in a similar situation.
Is you think you know what's going on out there. You think you know the struggles that are being encountered, and yet you become part of that for simply 2 hours, and you're like, I've had no idea. I think that probably one of the aha moments for me was the navigation through it. To have the group of professionals that were as part of that training together to have that group come together with skill sets and such, and yet we became extremely frustrated, if not, physically agitated, to a place of we can't get through this system. I think for me, my simulation was a father with 2 daughters. And while I was very proud to have finally accumulated the money for my rent, when I came back to my house, I had been evicted. So you're just like, what do we do? And then I realized I haven't fed my girls for a month. So it was, just that sheer navigation. I think the other for me, certainly as far as the aha was, oh my gosh, these people are so being exploited. It just seems like out of nowhere, people would come in, hey, I'll buy your food stamps, or I can speak to my personal experience. I was cashing my unemployment check, and he said, it'll be $75, which was 10% of my check. And by that time, you're just like, just cash it. I'm done, just cash it, because there's no other way out.
Since attending the training, we've offered the Cost of Poverty Experience simulation at Sinclair numerous times. I have encouraged people in higher education to do the to go through the experience so that they can better understand where do we fit in this conversation, what kind of barriers or roadblocks do we as an institution, or we as in higher education, how do we impact this? What can we do to decrease some of the barriers and positively impact some of the challenges to help people meet their goals?
I really think that, especially at Chaminade-Julienne, we serve a wide variety of students, from the richest to the poorest, and those from both sides of the tracks. And I think that if I were to encourage one of my colleagues here to go, I would say you need to go to understand what some of our students are going through. Go in with an open mind, and just kind of take in the experience and really try to put all your whole self into it and be really open and engage. And my hope would be that they would come out with a better understanding of what some of our students go through, and then be able to kind of understand what some of the larger Dayton community deals with, so we can not only be an educational resource, a support resource for our students, but also how we can help transform the community.
No, I think that with the work that Think Tank's doing and all lots of nonprofit partners are really important, because as we see the cuts that have happened to the safety net and to the extremely poor, we have, especially at this time of year and other times, we have to really think about what kind of a society we want to live in. And so I think that that's really the point of Think Tank, is really challenging what we think are norms, to really define what we want for our fellow human being, and what we want for our fellow citizen and our fellow neighbor and our fellow community members. So I think that's why I think Tank's so important, and the role that they do to really encourage middle class people to get involved in this super important issue for the future of our community.
And I think one of the things I like about Think Tank and just that whole process is, part of your job is to help people understand what they don't like. And when they're done, they don't have to like it, they just have to understand it. And I think that's where resolution really starts to gain traction. And I was even reading a lot about Mandela, and it says really, the character of a country is kind of signified by the way we treat its children. And if we're really called to be great leaders and to rise of this community, it isn't just about a product or a service. It's about how do we take care of the community as a whole. And that would be including understanding those people that aren't as fortunate, and how do we give them the gift of encouragement, how do we give them the resources to survive, and the knowledge and education to lift up.
I think is the best thing I could say about Think Tank. Really forces us to really think outside the box, and so that's the best way to start thinking. So I appreciate everything I've learned from them. I appreciate being a part of something much bigger that is so community connected. And so I think everybody should really should take advantage of any opportunity you have to do this.
I'd like to say a special thank you to the CareSource Foundation. and Kathy Ponens. They've been partners of ours for the last 4 years to bring this training tool not only to the organizations here in the greater Dayton area, but to organizations all across the country. Without their support, without their encouragement, and without them helping us to craft this vision, the training wouldn't have been possible. So thank you to Kathy and to the Foundation Board for all of your support over the past year.